All right. Hello. Let's see. We've got two people. Yay. I expected as much. Happy New Year. It is currently around 5 o'clock where I am, which means that a lot of people are just getting off of work and probably not available to hop on and watch a quick live stream. um, Especially people on the other side of the coast from me. But I thought it would just be fun to hop on real quick and say a quick Happy New Year to everyone. Um, Now, have a great 2020. Thanks, David. Um, Basically, I'm doing this just because I've got New Year's plans tonight. I'm gonna catch dinner with a friend and then go to a New Year's party. Um, but I wanted to hop on real quick and tell everyone Happy New Year, and also real quick just throw out my top 10 movies of the year. Um, and the reason is I just published a little community post with my top 10 favorite movies of the year. Um, and I was going to release a video today, a top 10 movies of 2020 video, because I do that every year. I thought it would be fun. And I've spent like all day working on this top 10 video, and the whole time I'm just like, this is a lame video. This is going to be boring. Because honestly, just not a ton of great movies came out this year, or at least not a ton that I saw. There were a lot of really, really good movies that I just heard about, that a lot of people just informed me of, because this is the end of the year and this is when people start talking about Oscars and stuff. And usually, all of these movies that are really, really well received get a lot of buzz, but because this year, nothing's going to theaters, I hadn't heard of half of these movies. There's all these movies where it's like, oh man, you didn't get a chance to see, The Sound of Metal, and I'm like, no, what is that? And did a quick Google search. I'm like, oh, that does look interesting, but I don't have time to go hunt down all of these movies. Um, and I actually watched a lot of very bad movies this year. I was just really craving that movie theater experience. So the moment the movie theaters around me opened back up, um, I looked to order tickets, and like all of these auditoriums were totally empty. And so I was like, you know what? It's I'm just gonna go by myself, wipe my seat down, and since no one else is in these theaters, it feels safe to me. I'm not necessarily advocating that for anyone else, but I thought it would be a fun time to go and see these movies. And so I've seen all of these theatrical releases that were just terrible, just some of the worst movies I've ever seen. And maybe I'll go down a quick list of those as well in this tiny little live stream. But meanwhile, apparently, like I just watched Chris Stuckman's top 10 best movies of the year list, and all of his top 10 movies were like movies I hadn't even heard of. It was all these little indie movies that went like straight to festivals, or went straight to some streaming platform, and I don't know why. I just can't get myself quite as pumped to sit down and watch a movie on Netflix or Amazon. So a lot of those just kind of flew under the radar for me. Um, and so because of that, I sat down this week to make a top 10 video, like I do every year. And like every single year, my top 10 favorite movies of the year video almost kills my channel because nobody, it's not like a hot topic or anything. So nobody watches it, and it just kills the algorithm. And the algorithm goes, oh, no one likes Ben's channel, I guess. And then I spend months trying to like build up algorithmic heat again. So this year, after editing about half of the video, I decided it wasn't worth it, and I thought I'd just post it as a community post and hop on here just real quick and share with you guys my favorite films of the year and maybe my least favorite films of the year. If you want to hear about those, if you do, just shoot me a comment over. Would it be over there? Is it mirrored? I don't know. All right, so. Without further ado, my top 10 favorite films of the year. Sadly, Scoob was not on my top 10 favorite movies of the year. I didn't have a chance to watch it, sadly. Even though my friend James told me I should. So maybe that was the best movie of the year and I just missed it. At number 10 is The Croods 2. And right there, you can see why I decided to abandon this video because, like, The Croods was one of the best movies I saw this year. Like, I did not see very many great films this year. But that being said, The Croods 2 was fantastic. It was actually a shockingly fun and good movie. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my Letterboxd list. But The Croods 2 was a shockingly good movie. I really thought that a sequel to The Croods would just be, the biggest cash grab. Like, that seems like the definition of a cash grab. But it was actually surprisingly funny, surprisingly heartfelt. It had really good animation, like shockingly good animation. So yeah, I really liked it. And it was a breath of fresh air after watching a ton of really, really bad movies. To answer your question, James, I am not including Hamilton on the list as that was just a recorded stage play. It wasn't like a film. At number 9, I would put Birds of Prey. Or to read the full title, Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Which, you know what? Kudos for having a really long, weird title like that. Birds of Prey, I really, really liked. I felt it broke the mold of the stereotypical homogenized superhero blockbuster that has become so prevalent in recent years. I thought it was just a really, really fun movie. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is inspired casting. I love the whole crossbow killer running gag throughout the whole movie. It really felt like that DC was trying to do Deadpool. And they succeeded. It was a really fun time. My one gripe about that movie was I just felt the emotional stakes weren't there for me. I feel it should have been like the Harley Quinn TV show, and instead of Black Mask, the Joker should have been the villain, because that would have driven that point home more, that Harley Quinn is like actually like emancipating herself, and that would have been satisfying. My friend Eli just commented, "God, you actually live there?" This is actually a friend's house I'm house sitting for. I'm not going to give you a tour because I feel that would be an invasion of privacy for those friends, and I honestly already feel weird filming this in their house. But I didn't feel like I could leave. Weird time for a stream. Yes, weird time for a stream. I know it's like right after the work day for some people, and some people are still at work. But I've got plans tonight doing New Year's stuff, so I thought I'd just go ahead and toss this out here real quick. For anyone who's just joining, number 10 of my favorite, I'm just going real quick down all my favorite movies of the year list. Number 10 is Croods 2. Number 9 is Birds of Prey. As you can see, it's kind of slim pickings on this list. And then at number 8 is Tenet. Tenet is a movie I thought was going to be my favorite movie of the year going in. But if you've seen the strange evolution of Christopher Nolan's sound design video, then you know that I didn't enjoy that movie as much as I was hoping I'd enjoy it. Because it was a very exposition heavy movie, but the sound mixing made it so that I couldn't hear anything. Like I couldn't understand what was happening with the plot. But even like Christopher Nolan's like not very good movies are still just mind-blowing visual treats. And so even though I couldn't follow the plot at all, it was still my eighth favorite film of the year. Yes, Jack, Croods 2 is on my top 10 favorite movies of the year list, which is why I abandoned the video that I was making, because I just realized I didn't really have enough movies that I was like, this was amazing, to fill out a whole top 10. But The Croods 2 was surprisingly good. It was a shockingly good film. Next up, we have Wonder Woman 1984, a very controversial pick at number 7. I loved that movie, and I'm shocked at how much everyone hates it. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand it is a very, 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 very flawed film. Like, the script was very muddled. There's a million plot holes. There's a ton of issues with that movie. And yet I just loved it. I just had such a great time watching Wonder Woman 1984. It was just, I think I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much if it didn't come out at the end of 2020, because I really just needed a very wholesome and fun and like heroic, superhero movie that was just wholesome and cheesy. And so, like, all these moments that felt really cheesy and forced to a lot of people, I thought just felt very heartfelt. And while a lot of the emotional beats didn't really land, I felt there was a lot of effort put in there that I appreciated. I think a big reason why I really liked that movie was because of Hans Zimmer's score. Hans Zimmer, like, just had this amazing emotional score that was playing during these scenes that I was sitting there going, like, why don't I find this unbearably cheesy? And I think it was just because Hans Zimmer's music was so good. But yeah, so like Wonder Woman 1984 was it was a very flawed movie, but it was a very flawed movie that I very much enjoyed. And enjoyed more than a lot of movies that I saw this year, and most of DC movies, honestly. And yeah, exactly. So somebody put in the comments, Wonder Woman was quite serious. Wonder Woman 1984 was a throwback to the Linda Carter era. And I agree. Like, that was kind of why I liked it. It was just a fun, cheesy, over the top kind of superhero movie. So while it was very flawed, I also found it very, very fun. So yeah. So for anyone who's just joining us, top 10 list. I'm just going down my top 10 list of the movies of the year that I really enjoyed. 10 was The Croods. 2, yes, I know. 9 was Birds of Prey. 8 was Tenet. 7 was Wonder Woman 84. At number 6 is Onward. Onward, really, I don't have a lot to say about Onward. It was just a fun, really, really good Pixar movie. It was about on the same level as like Monsters University, which I actually like Monsters University more than a lot of people. It was directed by the guy in Monsters University, but it was a really just fun, goofy, funny Pixar movie. Not their best work, but I really enjoyed it. And I really loved the ending of the movie. The ending, I thought, just 10 out of 10. Like, they did such a good job with it, both emotionally and also with how the climax played out. It was a fun time. Next up, we have Palm Springs at number 5. Palm Springs was at this point, from here on, we're into like these movies might have been my top 5 in the best year, because Palm Springs was an amazing movie. It was straight to Hulu. It stars Andy Samberg. Yeah, James, I just said it was good. I'm just saying that my top 5 are like the incredible movies that I'm just like, yes, these. I really liked Onward. And anyway, so Palm Springs is like the funniest comedy that came out this year. It was freaking hilarious. I don't want to spoil the premise for you if you've never seen it, but it's a romantic comedy with a slight sci-fi twist to it, and And it's a premise that's been done before, but they just do it in a new, slightly new, unique way. But it's so freaking hilarious. It stars, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but the mother from How I Met Your Mother is the female lead in it, and she's so hilarious. Um, I laughed so hard so many times through that movie. If you have not seen Palm Springs, it's on Hulu. Go watch it right now. It's so good. So at number four, my fourth favorite movie this year was The Trial of the Chicago Seven, which I just watched last night, actually. Trial of the Chicago Seven is a movie I didn't really want to watch. It was like, I don't know. I wasn't really in the mood to sit down, especially after this year, and like watch a movie about riots, like riots or protests or what have you. That just, it felt, it was a little too dark for my current state of mind. And I didn't really want to be depressed. But dang, it's Aaron Sorkin who wrote and directed it. He's the same guy who wrote The Social Network and created The West Wing. And his dialogue is so amazing, fun, and snappy that he could make someone writing the phone book interesting. He could make like the most boring subject you could possibly imagine just an amazingly interesting movie. The first few minutes were just so great, so entertaining, so snappy, so fun. And the whole movie is just a blast to watch while also being incredibly gut wrenching and sad with the real life events that went on in that trial. The villain in the movie, like if he wasn't a real person who like is on record having acted like that, if they had just made that character up for a movie, I'd be like, that's too much. You're going over the top here. But no, like so good. Um to answer your question, James, no, they don't. They do not know that I'm live streaming in their house. Hopefully, they won't get mad at me because sometimes they watch my live streams. But I'm not going to show their house at all. I'm just sitting right here. I don't think you can gather much from one wall. I shouldn't have even said that. So yeah, Trial of the Chicago Seven, some fantastic performances. I would highly recommend checking it out. At number three, we have The Hunt. The Hunt is, in my opinion, the most underrated film of the year. In some ways, it's my favorite movie of the year because I have not thought about a movie as much as I've thought about The Hunt after watching it. It is an incredible film. Like it's just, it feels like if you got a South Park episode and turned it into a horror movie. Like it makes fun of everyone and everything with a lot of really funny and fun, like political jabs at everyone and really over the top, gross out, just disgusting violence. It just felt like a big old slapstick political cartoon, and I really loved it. And this is the funny thing. So someone just commented, people criticize The Hunt for being political and left pandering, and that's the thing that I find so funny about this movie is it's a movie that everyone I know who's on the right hates it because it makes fun of people on the right, and everyone I know on the left hates it because it makes fun of people on the left, and both sides are just like, ew, I hate this movie. It's so immature and awful. And every critic I read, left or right, kind of just dismissed this movie as not knowing what it was about and being about how everyone sucks. And that's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is a little bit deeper than that. And it's kind of a movie making fun of cancel culture more than anything, which is ironic because the movie got canceled, both figuratively and literally. So I would very much recommend that movie unless if you are easily offended in terms of politics, in which case you'll probably hate it. But it's just a really, really fun, goofy, over the top, gory horror film. And I really loved it. Jacob says, what movies actually did come out this year. Yeah, that was the problem. That's why I'm on a live stream talking about my top 10 favorite movies of the year instead of just releasing a video about it, because I saw every movie that came out in theaters this year, and most of them were terrible. And very few actual good ones came on. Jacob, if you stick around, I'll recap my top 10 before I get on to number one. But at number two is The Invisible Man. That's my second favorite film of the year. For a long time, I thought it was going to be my favorite just by default because it was like the last great movie that came out right before the pandemic started. But The Invisible Man is an amazing thriller. It's incredibly tense. Having the villain, be invisible means that literally every scene is tense. Every single scene, you're just sitting there like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Because the bad guy could literally be anywhere at any time. So yeah, The Invisible Man. There's one scene in particular. I don't want to ruin it for you, but like for the most part, I think of it more as a thriller than a horror movie. But there's one part that made me jump out of my skin. Like, geez. I love the invisibility suit in the movie because like it has all these tiny little cameras like all over it, and it looks like a villain from like an old monster movie from like the 30s, that has eyes all over its body. It's so cool looking. It's such a great movie. It's a masterclass in tension. I highly recommend it. Matthew, I'm sorry, Extraction is not on my list. It was on my list for most of the year. It was number 11. So we'll just call that one an honorable mention. Because it was a fun action movie. I honestly might have liked it a little bit more if I'd seen it in like an IMAX theater instead of on my TV. But yes, I remember when we were supposed to get The Quiet Place Part 2. Guys, at the beginning of this year, I was making a video. I was hard at work on a video where I was going to lay out for anyone who is subscribed to my channel every single movie coming out this year that looked even remotely interesting. Just all the movies that I thought that looks cool and that looks cool and that looks cool. And there were so many good ones, guys, and we missed out on them, and it makes me sad. I have not even heard of Wolfwalkers. So sorry. Yeah, I haven't heard of that one. I feel bad because there's like all these movies. I'm getting to the end of the year and looking at all these people's top 10 lists, and there's all these movies I haven't even heard of because they haven't gotten any buzz because they played at like one festival and then just got sent straight to VOD. So makes me sad. All right, so before I move on to my favorite movie of the year, let me just real quick rattle back off all of the other best movies of the year that I listed previously. I did not watch Cuties, so I do not have an opinion on it. At number 10 is The Croods 2. Yes, The Croods 2. It was surprisingly good. At number 9, Birds of Prey. At number 8, Tenet. At number 7, Wonder Woman 84. Yes, I liked it, even though it was very flawed. At number... I can't count. At number 6, Onward. At number 5, Palm Springs. At number 4, The Trial of the Chicago 7. At number 3, The Hunt. At number 2, The Invisible Man. And then at the number 1 spot, the best movie of the year by and far was Soul. Soul was just incredible. That movie was astoundingly good. Like it made me rethink my whole life. And like, I knew it was going to be good. I was looking forward to this movie so freaking bad from the beginning of the year. I was just so looking forward to this movie. I was just stoked. because it's directed by the guy who did Up and Inside Out. Up is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I was like, yes, all right, come on, make me cry. And sadly, it didn't quite make me cry, but it's so good. The animation is gorgeous. The concepts are so original. Like, and the message of the film is astoundingly good. I'm planning on making a video essay about it. It blew my mind, and it's so funny. It was such a funny movie. Like I expected it to be deep and stuff. Like it's a Pixar movie. I should have thought like, oh yeah, this is gonna be funny. But no, it is so hilarious, but also so thought provoking. That ending just got me right there. So yeah, Soul was my favorite movie of the year. A 10 out of 10. Amazing film. If you haven't watched it yet, get a free trial of Disney Plus. Hop on there and go check it out. My buddy LaCroix there says, "Yo, what's up, man? I hope you don't mind where I'm filming right now." Um, let's see. Why did you like Birds of Prey? I addressed that at the beginning of the video. I just thought it was a fun movie. It broke out of the mold of just very generic superhero movie for me, which was nice. I did not see Faith Base. I desperately wanted to, but it went on the list of all the other films. With all the other films that went straight to VOD or straight to a streaming platform that I missed because just I don't know why I have a hard time convincing myself to sit down and watch a new movie that's on a streaming platform instead of in theaters. Soul blew me away. Right? It's so good. It's so good. Pat Wood. Oh, hey, Pat. What's up, man? Hey, Ben. I just jumped on here. Here's my top 3 from this year: Vast of Night, Relic, and I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Definitely recommend all 3 if you haven't seen them. I have not seen Vast of Night or Relic. I want to watch both. I did not have the chance. I did see Thinking of Ending Things, and it wasn't really my thing. A part of me felt like I should put it on this list just because, like, even though it wasn't really my thing, I felt like it was better than it at least had more effort, more thought put into it than a lot of other films. But sadly, it wasn't totally my thing. Let's see. What's your opinion on the movie The Favorite? Really, it's a good movie. A little twisted, but a good movie. What's your opinion on forced politics in film? That's a big old bag of worms, but it depends on what you mean by forced politics. Everyone has their opinion on what forced politics are. In my opinion, The West Wing is a good example. Hold on, a friend of mine is calling me. And he won't stop calling me because he doesn't know that he doesn't just leave me a message and leave me alone. No, he calls me like 15 times. David, I'm calling you out on live stream. He's fine. He doesn't care. All right. Anyway, so let's see. Opinion on forced politics in films. It's entirely dependent on who you are. Like, I think a good example is The West Wing, right? The West Wing is a very left-leaning television show. And yet my dad, who is, he's your typical, like he is not left-leaning at all, still loved the show because it was an incredibly well-made show. And so when it's the only time forced politics are like forced politics is just when they don't do it well, when they don't use like subtlety, like when they're just like, very on the nose. If they make an incredible movie, they can make the most horrifying political statement you can imagine, and you'll still probably enjoy the movie at least a little bit, So it's a bit of a minefield. I have a video called "Why Are Christian Movies Awful?" And I start out talking about specifically Christian films, but then I expand the scope of the video to talk about any kind of message you might put into a movie. I'd recommend checking that out because that has most of my thoughts on the topic. Let's see. Did you see David Fincher's new movie? I did. I didn't love it. I really wanted to like it, but I'm kind of tired of watching movies about making movies. Like and the thing is I usually enjoy them. I like movies about movies because I like movies. But they've started to feel just so redundant, and every time I'm watching the movie that they're making in the movie and I'm like, "Well, I just kind of wish I was watching that movie." It feels a little I don't know a polite way to put it. A little bit too inside baseball might be a good way to put it. Sonic the Hedgehog was really good. Sonic the Hedgehog was surprisingly good. What films am I excited for 2021? So it's hard to say because really most of the movies I'm excited for 2021 are the ones that got pushed from this year, and there are no guarantees that they're going to come out next year with how things are continuing. But I'll say Dune. Super stoked about Dune. What's it called? Edgar Wright has a new movie coming out. Like it's last night in something, I think, and it looks really good. So those are probably my two biggest. Like I cannot wait for those to come out. Soul, I'm gonna check it out. Good, do it. Let's see. I did not manage to see The King of Staten Island. As I said, like I found it really hard to keep caught up on all of these endless movies that went to streaming this year, and it makes me sad. Let's see. David Fincher movie, favorite documentary. Let's see. I did hear they're making another God's Not Dead. I don't understand why, but you know what? Yeah. But yeah, I'm super freaking excited for Dune and Suicide Squad. I desperately want to see what James Gunn does with Suicide Squad. Like that's that. I'm excited. Hello there. But yeah. Anyway. So that was my top 10 favorite movies of the year. Yay! Sorry that I didn't finish the video and I just decided to do it here. But like the video, I was just working on. I was like, nobody's gonna care. Like this isn't that great of a video. I'm just talking about basically the only movies I saw this year that were like any good. Anyway, I need a full video essay video on the new God's Not Dead. Who knows? Maybe I will. But yeah. And so now to decide if I'm going to hop off now or I'll stick around for a few more minutes. The only one on the list I've seen is Onward. Onward was good. It was a good one. Really, the only ones I'd say rush out and go see it are like those top 5 that I gave. I posted it in like a community post. So if you want to relook at what my top 10 were, they're over there. Favorite movie making of book. I don't really have one. I don't know. Making Movies by Sidney Lumet, maybe. What Star Wars announcement are you most excited for? None of them really. I mean, as much as I hate to admit it, I've gotten a little burnt out. Well, okay. There's an animated Star Wars show, like an animated anthology show called Visions or something. It's coming to Disney Plus, and that sounds fun. Like that sounds like a good old time. Thoughts on The Godfather? Amazing. It's great. You should definitely check out Wolfwalkers. All right, I'll check it out. What's your favorite short film and animated short film? Favorite short film might be. I've suddenly forgotten every short film I've ever watched. Probably one of the Pixar ones. There's a few of those I think are really good. There's one called Feast that was a Disney short that I thought it was great. Anyway, you guys want to hear about some of the worst movies I saw this year? If you don't, it's fine. But I saw some doozies this year because I decided, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go back to the theater. Because as I mentioned earlier, I live in a less populated area, and so every theater near me, when they reopened, they did not have like nobody was going to any of these movies, so I had the whole auditorium to myself every time. So I was like, you know what, this feels safe enough to me. So I put on my mask and would bring like a big old bottle of hand sanitizer wipes. And guys, I thought about doing a video on this, but then I decided I didn't want to be a negative Nancy. But I have seen so many bad movies this year. And real quick, we're just gonna run down the list. Oh gosh. All right, yeah, hold on. Let me pull this up on Letterboxd so I can so I have everything at my fingertips. So, like first movies like coming back were not that bad, right? It was like Tenet, which Tenet was like it wasn't the best. It was a disappointment to me, but it was still it was a Christopher Nolan movie. Like even his not great movies are still incredibly well done movies, you know. So I enjoyed it. It has some mind blowing stuff in it. Then after that, I saw Unhinged with Russell Crowe, where he's this big old fat guy who gets cut off in traffic, and he and he like starts like hunting after this woman, and that was really dumb but in a fun way, and I feel like the filmmakers knew that it was dumb. Little did I know that was going to be the best movie I would see in months and months. So after that I proceeded to see the new X-Men movie came out, New Mutants. Guys, let me tell you about New Mutants. Let me tell you about this movie, okay? I went in, I've been seeing these trailers for years, and because it got dumped here, I was like, okay, maybe it's not going to be the best movie. But, oh my gosh. So, New Mutants, the review I left on Letterboxd was X-Meh, and I think that was a little too generous. So this movie opens up with, by the way, I'm about to spoil all of these movies. So if you hear me start talking about a movie, I'm going to spoil it. Just you know, just so you know. So New Mutants opens up with inside of every person there are two bears. One is goodness. One is badness. Which one wins? The bear you feed. So right there, it's already just off to a great start. It's just insanely cliched. It's like the most cliche thing that I've ever heard in my life. I'm like, oh my gosh, that, wow, this is how we're starting. Okay, but whatever, cool, sure, whatever. So then you hear this big old monster roar, and this little girl wakes up, and not little girl, she's like a teenager, and she wakes up, and her dad's like, come on, we gotta go, and they're running, and you hear like something chasing after them, and she like falls over unconscious, and then you hear a big old roar, right? And she wakes up. And when she wakes up, she finds herself in this like tiny little school, right? And in the school, she's just like laying there and she's like, what's going on? And there's this one woman, right? And the woman's just like, oh, you have been brought here because you are a mutant and you have incredibly strong powers. And she's like, well, what are my powers? And she's like, we don't know yet. So first off, how does she know that this girl's a mutant if they don't know what her powers are? How did they know that she's dangerous if they don't know what her powers are? And this girl takes this information incredibly well, but she's like, oh no, all my family's dead. That's sad. We also don't ever know. He says they never established that she was a mutant. Then why was she there if she wasn't a mutant? She's at this like school for mutants, right? Anyway, so this woman, she's like, as a mutant, the young mutants are incredibly dangerous. They're like snakes because baby snakes don't know how to control their venom. And I'm like, yes, oh my gosh, another metaphor, which has been used a million times in movies. So again, another cliche. But you know what? There's worse things than cliches. So at this point in the movie, she goes and she decides, all right, I'm going to go kill myself because my family's dead. So I'm like, wow, that got dark fast. She climbs up to the top of this like bell tower. She steps out onto the tower and she's standing there just kind of looking down. And I'm sure this actress is a good actress, but she was being horribly directed because she had no emotion. Her emotion was just like, oh no, I might jump. Like it was such bad acting. And this other girl pops up, and played by Arya Stark from Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones, and she's Scottish, and she like peers her head out, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm going to kill myself because my family died." And she's like, "Oh, maybe you shouldn't kill yourself." She's like, "Why?" She's like, "I don't know. It seems like it might hurt." And she's like, "Okay." And so she doesn't kill herself. And so at this point, like Scottish Arya Stark starts giving her like a little, little tour through the facility, and we meet all the other characters, and it's like these two and like three, maybe four other people in this entire facility, right? And they're always talking about how they kind of want to get out of there, and the only thing keeping them in is like a force field in one lady. And like all of these people are incredibly dangerous mutants, and all that's keeping them in is one lady. And that's it. And I'm like, why don't you just overpower the? Okay, fine, whatever, At which point they try to make the movie into like The Breakfast Club, which could be interesting. But then like spooky things start happening, and like people start seeing their worst nightmares. At which point I go, oh, okay, the main character, her power is like she shows people their worst nightmares. I guess that's the point. And and they just like the rest of the movie is just over and over and over again all these people seeing their worst nightmares, and there's no tension to it because like it could have been really creepy, it could have been really scary, but like, and I liked a lot of the ideas presented, but they were never actually scary because it's so obvious from the beginning that it's just this other girl who we don't know what her powers are. She's just doing it, right? Like they're not actually in any real danger. Or maybe they are, but if they were, it wasn't really that well established early on. Later in the film, her nightmare things like actually like start hurting people. And so at that point, it gets a little bit more suspenseful, but whatever. Anyway, at this point, Scottish Arya Stark, who's a werewolf, like she sees her worst nightmare, and her worst nightmare is like a Scottish priest going like, I don't like you because you're gay and you're a werewolf, so I'm going to kill you and I'm going to brand you with like an X on the back of your neck because you're gay and you're a werewolf. And she's like, no! And then she like wakes up, and then and like at this point in the movie, that like the Scottish chick and the main character have had like two interactions, but like Scottish girl looks at the main chick like this, like it's like, oh, okay, so I think she's gay, and she thinks that this other girl's pretty. Okay, cool, that's fine. The next scene, they decide to inform you that this character's gay by having her sit in front of a TV watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a scene where two girls are kissing on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, it's like the movie was just screaming at you. Get it? She's gay. I think you seem stupid. I'm not sure if you're picking up on the fact that she is a gay character. And then the next scene, these two characters have had like two scenes together. They like go off into a field and they lay down in the grass and look into each other's eyes. And the main character goes, in this exact voice, like again, such bad acting. She's like, you're amazing. It's like I dreamt you up. Well, why do you think that? Well, because you're so nice to me. And I'm like, what do you mean you're so nice to me? All she did is talk you off a ledge when you're about to throw yourself off a building. I mean, that's great, but that's like anyone would do that. And so this just kind of continues for like 2 hours of just fake scary thing happens, someone wakes up. Fake scary thing happens, someone wakes up. That's the entire freaking movie. Nothing else happens. And then at this point, Nurse Ratched, like the head of the school, like gets her orders like, oh, you should like kill this chick because she's too dangerous. And she's like, okay. And so she goes to kill this girl, and she escapes easy with help of Werewolf Girl because dangerous mutants who are being guarded by one lady. And so they all go, all right, well, let's kill that lady so we can get out of here. So they all go to try and kill the lady, and with like no problem, they off her. But then like the girls like nightmare fuel powers come to bear, literally in the form of a giant bear that tries to eat them. So at this point, they're all fighting the bear, and it just feels totally worthless because it's just like I just know, 5 seconds from now she's going to go, oh, I know, my powers are like this, and I have to control my powers, and she's just going to make the bear go away. And sure enough, that's what happens, and that's the end of the movie. And and then the movie ends with the stunning, amazing narration, just in case you didn't get the theme of the film. It's like, inside every person, there are 2 bears. Which one will win? The bear you choose to feed. And that's the end of the movie. And it was it was such a nothing film. It felt like the first draft of a really good screenplay that someone wrote when they were in college. Like, they really could have had some amazing horror. They could have like done some really good stuff with like psychological examination, like The Breakfast Club, but nothing. It's just so on the nose. It's so badly written. It was just terrible. And so I'm sorry, I went on way too long talking about that. I got to get off here in a moment. But geez Louise, it was such a bad movie. And since then, I've seen so many other movies. I saw this movie called Infidel, which was like Jim Caviezel gets like captured like in Iran by like Islamic extremists. And it was just so incredibly cheesy and not very good. And it just poorly acted. But I felt they had like, I felt they put in a good effort. And then I saw The War with Grandpa, which might be one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It's like a family comedy, but there's not one funny moment in the entire film. I wish I could have the time that I spent on that movie back in my life. Like I want it back. I saw Let Him Go, starring Kevin Costner, and that like people were talking about like, hey, this is actually a great adult drama. Adult dramas don't get made very much anymore. But no, it was just so many of these movies are just A to B to C plots. Like here's a little writing tip for you guys. Your story needs to have twists and turns, right? So like if I'm telling you a story about going to the grocery store, right? And the story is, so I went to the grocery store and I picked up some milk and then I came out. You'd be like, that's a horrible story, right? Like there has to be a twist. It's like I went to the grocery store and they were out of milk. So then I went to a different grocery store and they were out of milk. And so I went to a different grocery store and you won't believe what happened. And and you got to build tension and stuff. And all of these movies, every single one of them, like just like New Mutants, were just A to B to C. Like there was no twists and turns. You just knew exactly what was going to happen. It's like the main character in like Let Him Go. It's like, all right, we're going to go get our grandson back. But the bad guys don't want us to have our grandson back. So then we got a gun and went and got our grandson back. The end. And that's the whole movie. Like you can sum it up in 15 seconds. And that's all of these movies. Oh gosh, what were some of the other terrible, terrible movies I saw this year? The Silencing. Oh my gosh, it's one of the worst movies I have ever seen in my life. It starred Jaime Lannister again from Game of Thrones. A lot of bad movies from Game of Thrones alum this year. I hate to see it, guys. But like that movie is a movie about just this like girl who it's about this dude who's like finds a woman who's like a little girl who's like had her vocal cords like cut like surgically removed and then like was hunted by the man who did it. Like that sounds interesting, right? But no, like nothing happens in the movie. And there's so many movies I saw this year like it, and it's so bad. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop endlessly prattling on about all the terrible movies I saw this year. In fact, I probably need to get going. But that being said, thanks for joining me, guys. Again, if you missed my top 10 favorite movies of the year, they're in a community post. Have I seen Engie? What? Sorry, someone posted something. I don't understand what he means. Anyway, but if you want to see my top 10 favorite movies of the year list, I gave up on the video if you're just joining us because it just wasn't very good. So you can just read my favorite movies of the year list in the community post that I posted. To answer your question, I think that's Daniel. I did see Trial of Chicago 7, and it was fantastic, and you should see it. I have not seen the Christian John Wick Beckman. I've heard it's good. Or not that it's good. I've heard that's funny. And that it's terrible. When is the next live stream? I don't know. I just do these kind of whenever I've got a few free moments and I feel like connecting with my audience. I do have a new video coming out on Tuesday. We have a new the director project thing I did at the beginning of this month with Miyazaki. That big old collaborative playlist. There's another edition of that. It's coming out on Tuesday. It will be, well, I don't think I could spoil who it is, but hopefully you'll enjoy that. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. I am on Letterboxd. It's just Center Row. So if you want to check that out and see, like every year I start compiling at the beginning of the year a favorite movies list that constantly adjusts throughout the film, throughout the year. So if you guys just want to follow along with my top 10 favorite movies of the year list like that, go ahead. Where can we find your community post? Love to see your list. You can either see that if you're on your computer under the community tab, or if you're on your phone on the YouTube app, it should just pop up in your subscription feed. When was the last time you pooped your pants? It's been a minute. Your thoughts on Pixar's Soul? That's my number one favorite movie of the year. It's so good. But yeah, all right, cool. I'm gonna end it there, folks. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and be on the lookout for a new video on Tuesday. So bye.